If you're over 60 and you'd like to get stronger, then a barbell could be your best friend. Sarcopenia, or age-related muscle loss, starts as young as 30, but it accelerates after the age of 60. But fortunately, some simple barbell exercises can help prevent or even reverse that. And if a 45-pound barbell like this one feels intimidating, don't worry, I've got you covered. But just the fact that it is intimidating means you absolutely need to watch this video. In the next few minutes, I'll show you the top 5 barbell strengthening exercises for seniors. So let's get started. Before we get into the exercises, I first want to talk a little bit about equipment. A 45-pound Olympic barbell like that one has a 2-inch sleeve that fits Olympic plates like this one. But if that feels too heavy for you, they do make lighter barbells that have a 1-inch bar, and they fit smaller weights like this one. These ones are actually only 1 1/4 pounds. I'll put a link to that type of barbell in the description. Or if you're just getting started, you can even use a broomstick or a Swiffer handle and just put some light weights on like this. They also make some combined dumbbell and barbell sets. So don't let equipment stand in your way of getting started. Now, speaking of dumbbells, why not just use dumbbells? Dumbbells are great. I love dumbbells and I use them all the time. But one big advantage of barbells is that you can often lift more weight with a barbell than you can with 2 dumbbells combined. And when we're talking about strength training or progressive resistance training, one key word that often gets forgotten is progressive. You need to get heavier over time in order to get stronger. So the 2-pound dumbbells are a great place to start if that's where you're at, but eventually you need to move beyond those. There's also a significant mindset component to using a barbell. Many older adults think of barbells as something that only strong people use, but that subconsciously sends a message that I'm not strong. But if only strong people use barbells and you use them, you're telling yourself that you are strong. So let's jump into the first exercise. If you watch this channel regularly, you probably know that my favorite exercise is a squat. So we're going to start there, and I'll go through a couple of different variations. One variation is a back squat, where you put the bar across your shoulders like this. Now, when many people do back squats, they complain about pain right at this part here. And when you're holding a bar for a back squat, you want to squeeze your shoulder blades back together, kind of crunch up the muscles at the top of your shoulders, and allow the bar to rest there. So it really shouldn't be contacting your spine at all. This is often the strongest position to squat in because your arms don't tire out before your legs do. So start with the bar across your shoulder like this. Find a stance width that's comfortable for you. And then you want to start out by turning your knees out, kind of unlocking your knees just a little bit and stacking your trunk up over your legs. Then you're going to push your hips back slightly and then lower down into the squat. Now, it's important when doing a squat that you keep your hips, knees, and toes in alignment. So you don't want to allow your knees to buckle in like this when doing a squat. So make sure you line everything up, sit back slightly, then lower down to a depth that feels comfortable for you. Don't cause any knee pain when doing this. So if you can only go this deep to start out, just go that deep and then progress deeper as you go along. To see this from a side view, you'll turn the knees out, unlock slightly. Make sure you have a neutral spine position so you're not rounded out like that, and you're also not hyper-arched. So try to get your spine in a neutral position, and then squat down, come back up, squat down, come back up, squat down, and come back up. Now, another option, if you can't get the bar back here, if you're just doing this at home, is to do a front squat. There are some advantages and disadvantages to this one. One of the main ones being it's easier to get into this position. Now, note that you do need some wrist extension here. You really don't want to hold the weight like this because now your arms are doing the work of holding the barbell up. So if you're going to do a front squat, you want to make sure that you have some wrist extension here. There's also another way that you can hold it cross arm like this, but you obviously have to get it into that balance position. If you note here, I'm not really holding the weight with my hands. I'm just using my hands to stabilize the bar. So from here, the technique is pretty much the same. You just sit down into the front squat like that. Or if you're using the alternative grip, you go up like this and sit down into the front squat. Now there is an advantage of the front squat over the back squat in that you can keep your trunk a little bit more upright. When the weight is in front of you, it shifts your center of gravity forwards, and so you don't need to lean your trunk as forwards to stay balanced. There's also a little bit of a safety advantage that if the weight would get too heavy, you can just drop it down onto the floor, which obviously you don't want to do that, but always keep safety in mind first. So that's the first exercise, the squat. The second exercise is the deadlift. With the deadlift, you want roughly the same starting stance, and you're going to push your hips back, run the barbell down pretty much in contact with your legs, and then push your hips forwards. Note here, you want to keep the same neutral spine position, so you're not hyperextended there, you're not rounded out too much, but keeping the spine in pretty much the same position, and then you're just driving the hips backwards, allowing the knees to bend naturally, but it's not a squat like this. So you're pushing the hips back, letting the bar go down your legs. If you did have plates on here, the plates would hit the floor, but since we're just using a barbell, stop a few inches shy of the floor, and then come back up, driving your hips forward, push the hips back, hips forward, hips back, hips forward. And note again, you want to keep the bar pretty close into your body. You also want to kind of pinch your shoulder blades back like this. So this works your back muscles in addition to your legs, and then drive the hips forwards like that. Avoid hyper extending at end range. Push the hips back, hips forward into the bar, and then hips back and hips forward. So that's the second exercise, the deadlift. For the third exercise, we're going to go into that same bent over position. This is going to be a bent over row. So you'll need to be a little bit lighter with this one than with the deadlift, but you start out here and you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades back together in the back, pulling the bar in towards your waist, squeezing the shoulder blades back, and then going back down. To see that from the side, lean forwards, bar stays close to your body, squeeze the shoulder blades back, lower back down, squeeze the shoulder blades back, back down. And notice you want to kind of keep your weight back on your heels so the bar is counterbalancing you. That way you're not leaning forwards using your back muscles to hold you up. So sit back on your heels, pull up like that. And between the bar pulling you forwards and your hips pulling you back, keeps your center of gravity balanced over top of your feet. To see that from the back view, squeezing the shoulder blades back together, pulling the elbows in towards your sides, and then coming back down. And so that's the bent over row. Next we'll go to the shoulder press. And for this one, you want to bring the bar up to shoulder level, kind of with that same grip as with the front squat earlier. For this one, you want to have your hands gripped slightly wider than shoulder width and your elbows out in front of you. Then you want to push the bar up over your head like that, and you want to try to finish with the bar over top of your head. So you don't want to keep the weight out here. It's much harder to control if it's in front of you. It is obviously going to be in front of your face as you're moving up this way. But then as soon as you clear your face, you want to move the bar overhead and then back down. Notice again, your elbows aren't straight out to the sides. They're kind of in front of you here. And then you lift directly up over your head and back down. For balance and also to avoid hyperextending your lower back, it sometimes also helps to go into a stagger. So you stagger your feet forwards and backwards, and then also out to the side. This makes you a little bit more stable, and then you can drive up overhead like that, and lower back down, drive up overhead like that, and lower back down. So that's the fourth exercise, the overhead press. Next, for the final exercise, you will need just a little bit of extra equipment for this one, and that'll be the bench press. For this one, you'll lie down on a weight bench with a bar up on a rack. Now, if you absolutely don't have any equipment at home, you can do a floor press lying on the floor, and then have someone hand you the barbell. But long term, it is going to be better to do this on a bench. To do this, you're not going to have your arms straight out to the side at shoulder level when pressing. You actually want your arms at kind of a 45 degree, so you're pinching your elbows in slightly. That puts your shoulders in a position of external rotation, which is a much safer position than being in relative internal rotation with the arms up here. So again, you're going to go to a 45 degree angle there, and then press out, kind of keeping your elbows pushed in that way. The way it will look with the bar, you scoot back so the bar is about over your eye level. Find a grip that's equal on both sides and about a little wider than shoulder width. So if you had your arms bent to 90 degrees and moved it up, it would be right about at that width. You lift up off the rack, and again, kind of pinch your elbows in, lower down to your chest. And if you have shoulder issues and can't quite get all the way down to your chest, it is okay to stop an inch or two short of that and then press back up. Again, keeping the elbows kind of pinched in that way. Lower down, press back up, do 8 to 10 repetitions, and then when you reach your desired number of repetitions, then re-rack the weight. So that's the bench press. Now, since we do have the rack out here, I'm going to go back to the squat and show you a couple different grips on how to rack and unrack it. If you remember before, we went through the back squat and 2 different variations of the front squat. When you get to a certain weight, you're not going to be able to lift the barbell off the floor anymore. So learning how to unrack from a rack is important. You always want to start facing towards the rack so that you can see it when you're putting the bar back in. For the back squat, you'll take a grip that's about the same width of your bench press and then get underneath the bar like this. Again, you want to kind of pinch your shoulder blades back together so it's resting on your shoulder blades and your upper trapezius muscle rather than resting on your neck or on your spine. Then you want to kind of squeeze the shoulder blades back, find a stance width that feels normal for you, then roll your pelvis underneath to kind of stack things up. Your spine shouldn't be hyper arched as you're lifting off. So roll under, find a neutral spine position, lift up, and you're going to take a couple small steps back. You don't want to walk it out too far back because you're going to need to re-rack it. Go through your sets of squats just like we described before, and then when you're ready to re-rack, just walk it back in and set it back down. Now for front squats, you're also going to start out facing towards the rack. For this purpose, I'm going to face out towards you just so you can see it a little bit better. So for a cross arm front squat, you'd come up till the bar hits just at your shoulders here, cross your arms like that, start in your squat stance, lift up. You'd be walking backwards out of the rack. I'm going to walk towards you. Then you do your squats. And then when you're done, you'd walk the bar, again, walking forwards back into the rack. With the other variation of front squats, you want to start out again at about a bench press width, come underneath like this. The elbows should come out in front of you. So you don't want to be like this. The elbows should come out in front of you. Again, you do need a good degree of wrist extension in order to be able to do this. And then you lift off, again, walk backwards out of the rack, but I have to walk forwards. And then you'd do your sets of squats, and then you'd walk it forwards back into the rack so that you can see the stops there. So hopefully you found this video helpful to learn how to strength train with barbells. Now, like I said, I think dumbbells are a great option as well, and I like including both in my workouts. If you'd like to learn some dumbbell strength training exercises for people over 50, check out this video over here. But before you go, if you found this one helpful, make sure to give it a like, and if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on my future tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.